Sale el equipo a la cancha, pisando paso a paso, buscando la mitad de la cancha.
As the 2010 MLS season approaches, there's plenty of work involving players, coaches, and supporters of the Dynamo. Let's not forget about finishing the new training facility for the former back-to-back champions. But there's still questions lingering for the possibility of the Dynamo stepping closer to a possible stadium deal. March 1st marked the first meeting with the Harris County Houston Sports Authority held at Union Station at Minute Maid Park. And those on hand were Dynamo President Oliver Luck and the Texas Southern University Athletic Director. Both Houston Dynamo and TSU made their presence known to see if the Harris County Houston Sports Authority agreed in favor of forming a task force to get the ball rolling for a possible new home for the Orange.
Overseeing the Dynamo TSU stadium. So,
we cannot spend any tax dollars toward this facility. We can't in any way. We have to segregate money that comes in from hotel and motel and hotel occupancy taxes and our rent taxes and not use those at all. Then we have to look to see what authority the sports authority would have, if any, to be engaged in a matter.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I've appreciated people expressing their appreciation of our attention to this and even expressing our support, but I don't know whether we're there yet, but how can we be supportive to the city and the county? What can the sports authority do to be helpful to the city and the county with this initiative?
Well, I think the first thing is that if the city and county wants us to be involved, that we are the natural place to be involved in a joint city-county project. That's the way it turns out. It didn't start out that way, as I understand the stadium issue, but it now appears to be heading in that direction. If it gets there, and I think the sports authority, because half our board is appointed by the city and half by the county, is a natural place for that to happen. As I said earlier, it's not exactly clear what, if anything, we're being asked to do, so we'll have to play that by ear as we move forward. But I think what we bring to the table is the experience of having built 3 other stadiums, the experience of having overseen 3 other stadiums, and so we have a lot of experience of being able to build stadiums on budget and on time. Now, this stadium is different, as I mentioned earlier, is that most of this stadium will be paid for by the Dynamo. It's the deal that's been on the table now. So not entirely, the city and county would be both chipping in money, but most of this would be a Dynamo stadium in terms of the role of getting it built. So our role would be different than it was in the other 3 stadiums where we do this. But again, not quite clear what role the city and county would like us to play. My assumption has been they'd like us to be, in effect, their agent, to oversee the construction of the stadium and oversee its long-term use, because that's what we have experience.
I would like to recommend, Mr. Chairman, that we appoint a task force and that we go forward with this thing and we look at our possibilities and our opportunities in the city and the county.
I'll take that as a motion.
Yes, sir.
All right, is there a second to that? Any other discussion of that motion? The motion, as I understand it, is for the chair to appoint a task force to continue talking to the city and county and determine whether or not there's a role they determine, including the sports authority to play. If so, to bring it back here for a vote. Is that that's the motion. And moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later, but I don't really know what the time frame is. You'd have to ask the city and county.
So at the end of the day, what we want to do is spend $80 million and build the best damn stadium that we can build for the Dynamo soccer fans and for Texas Southern University. And I'm convinced the sports authority will help us do that. It won't be a negative. We're glad things are moving quickly. The economy is slowly kind of coming around. Banks are starting to lend. We've got our 2 banks, our 2 major tourism and senior construction lender. We have those lined up. But without, the thing that still needs to happen, quite honestly, is the county needs to put this on its legislative agenda. We can't close out a TERS loan, nor can we close out our senior construction loan without this going on an upcoming Commissioner's Court agenda. I think it's good that the Sports Authority has said we will take on a very limited administrative role in this process. And certainly, I think, it has more of a focus now, because what the Sports Authority does is stadiums, nothing else, as opposed to city and county folks who are involved in all sorts of different infrastructure projects. So I think it'll help us take the next step?
I'm encouraged. I think that the Sports Authority has indicated a willingness to at least consider the issue further. Forming a task force, while it isn't the blanket yes that we all would have hoped for, I think it shows a commitment to investigate the issue further and hopefully take some action once the desired role of the Sports Authority becomes a little clearer.
I can't quite calculate the first aggressive push for a proposed downtown stadium the Dynamo are hoping for, but I could say since now things have gotten interesting. Now, with the Harris County Houston Sports Authority slowly meshing and rubbing shoulders with the Dynamo and Texas Southern, there is evidence of small but important steps that have been laid out with some positive notes. Safe to say being optimistic is starting to set in for some Dynamo fans. After this meeting, yes. Reporting from Union Station in Minute Maid Park, I'm Jeremiah Gallegos with Texan Army TV.